Xiao Tianwen, favored in the early stage and favored in the later stage, cold, rigid, and imaginative with a unique circuit, fourth master versus little Gugu who only wants to eat, drink, and lie flat with salted fish. Li Shenjiao, the governor's daughter, was elected to Dangge in Sibeile Prefecture after the general election. Her family background is a bit low, but Li Shenjiao herself is quite satisfied. She has a good Dangge, a low status, and doesn't look impressive. It's great to mix food and drink. I originally wanted to live a life of mixed eating and drinking, but the fourth master doted on her. If you don't like it, tell me. When I have free time, I'll come and see you. What's missing? It's like someone came to the front yard to find Su Patient. She's here to eat and drink, isn't she here to make love and romance? Master, don't harm me. Faced with the fierce gaze from the backyard, Li Shenjiao was not afraid and rolled up her sleeves to work hard. And take advantage of this great time to shake and clear the scenery. The female protagonist has a certain level of predictive ability, it's about children, and she doesn't have many golden fingers. Chapter 1. Indeed, it is a good color, charming and moving. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In the 36th year of Kangshi's reign, in spring. It is precisely during the bright spring sunshine that the weather is just right. Li Shenjiao changed her clothes and took her maid Qiuhu to the main courtyard. On the way, Qiuhu supported Li Shenjiao and whispered, "Gige, don't worry. It's still early for your son to meet. Outsiders say that Sifujin is the most kind. Even if it's a bit late, I think it won't be a problem." Li Shenjiao walked briskly as she listened to Qiuhu's words and exhaled, as the head of the household, there is no such thing as being extremely kind. Today is the first day of entering the mansion, and there must be absolutely no mistakes. If Fujin goes late and punishes her, it's because she doesn't understand the rules. What if she doesn't punish her? Fujin will not neglect punishment, otherwise how can rules be established? As for the newly established government, Fujin is also a newcomer. Without establishing rules, how can one stand firm and continue to manage in the future? Not making mistakes is the best. Autumn Pot was not foolish either, and immediately said, "I think I have a wrong idea." Li Shenjiao was arranged to be in the courtyard on the east side of the mansion, with a garden ahead and a main courtyard ahead. Just saying it's not far, but it also takes some effort to walk. The specifications of the main courtyard naturally need to be more grand and solemn. Li Shenjiao slowed down a bit and slowly stepped into the door of the main courtyard. The maids in the main courtyard bowed obediently when they saw Li Shenjiao. The maids standing at the door were dressed in water-green clothes. When they saw Li Shenjiao approaching, they bent their knees slightly and lifted the pearl curtain with a smile, saying, "Li Gige." Li Shenjiao nodded lightly and smiled as a sign of agreement, then walked inside. Entering the room, passing through the screen of the peony brocade, one can see the Song family. In fact, Li Shenjiao doesn't know the Song family either, she just knows at a glance that this is the Song family. Her skin is fair, her almond eyes are smiling, and when she smiles, there are faint dimples on her lips. She has a small head and is dressed in an apricot yellow flag. How to say, gentle and charming, a small family jade, exuding a gentle scent all over. Li Shenjiao blinked and saluted, "Song Gige is good." Song Gige looks pretty good." Song stood up and hesitated slightly, saying, "Is it Li Gige?" "She is indeed a good color, charming and charming." Li Shenjiao shook her head slightly and said, "Song Gige praised me so much, I can't afford it." After a brief exchange of blows, both of them sat down, and Li Shenjiao sat opposite the Song family. After a while, someone will come in again. However, Li Shenjiao didn't know her and just saw that she didn't perform a fair ceremony, and that she had only stood at the back after performing the ceremony, so she guessed that she was a concubine in the mansion. The Song family is also lively, so Li Shenjiao chatted with them. It's still. Bai Jia hasn't come, has it? Bai Jia, along with Li Shenjiao, is a beautiful lady of this generation, and so is Fu Jin. However, Fu Jin was the legitimate Fu Jin appointed by the emperor, and she and Bai Jia were both chosen by Empress Dowager De. Finally, Bai Jia's arrival was delayed. Fu Jin's son has already walked out this time, dressed in a bright red peony gold embroidered flag suit, wearing a set of enamel-colored jadeite headwear, and carrying a pair of jade bracelets in his hands, which are purple jade. Li Shenjiao didn't pay close attention to the appearance, but the rest of the time looked beautiful. On the contrary, Li Shenjiao noticed the cloisonné armor on Fu Jin's hand, not to mention, it was quite beautiful. Fu Jin glanced down and frowned lightly. Just as he was about to speak, he heard the girl come in and say, "Fu Jin, Bai Jiagege has come to invite him." Fu Jin pursed his lips and spoke for a while before saying, "It's okay, let her in." The girl went out to spread the word according to her words. In no time, Bai Jiagege came in, dressed in a light orange flag suit and dressed simply, and saluted as soon as he came in, saying, "I apologize for being late and ask Fu Jin to punish me." The smile on Fu Jin's lips faded slightly and he said, "Bai Jia, you're late." Bai Jia dared not lift her head and said, "Yes." Fu Jin said slowly, "Although I am currently in the mansion and not as strict as the rules in the palace, I still have to follow the rules of my ancestors. It is not necessary to be cautious in the morning or evening, but the greetings during festivals on the 1st and 15th days of the Lunar New Year cannot be cancelled." Fu Jin paused slightly. "Well, today is not a day to pay respects, and you are also the first day you entered the mansion. I don't want to scold you, so I copied 2 volumes of rules and regulations and sent them to the main courtyard half a month later to warn you. Do you understand?" Bai Jia bowed again and responded with great etiquette, "Yes, I will be punished." "Thank you, Fu Jin." Fu Jin paused for a moment, then suddenly smiled and said, "Okay, sit down. It's really careful." She punished her, and Bai Jia obediently accepted it without refuting it. "It seems like she's not a fool." Fu Jin was about to say something else when the girl who had just been passing the message came in again and said, "Fu Jin, the 4th master is here." Fu Jin was surprised for a moment, but quickly got up and everyone followed suit to salute. The 4th master walked in with great strides, and when he saw everyone bowing, he spoke concisely. The people in the main courtyard had already moved chairs and placed them on top, with 4th Lord sitting in the main seat and Fu Jin sitting on the side. The 4th master sat down and took a sip of tea, asking, "How about it?" Fu Jin smiled and said, "I'm just paying my respects. It's just the first day of entering the palace, and I'm bound to be careless. Well, Bai Jiagege just arrived late, but it's not a big deal. I didn't go to the palace today. Look at these beautiful words, I applied eye drops and changed the topic to make it difficult to bring up this matter again." The 4th master exclaimed, "Fu Jin just needs to keep an eye on things from now on. There's nothing to do today, so there's no need to go to the palace." Fu Jin smiled and said, "Yes, I will take good care of the affairs in the backyard." The 4th master let out a and casually glanced down, his gaze resting on Li Shenjiao for a few more moments. 4th master didn't stay much, although he didn't need to go to the palace, there was still something to do. After the 4th master left, Fu Jin turned his head to look at Li Shenjiao and said with a smile, "This is Li Shi, isn't it? It's indeed a good color, and it looks pleasing." Li Shenjiao naturally didn't dare to respond. She cleverly boasted about each other's business, and then her face started to twitch with a smile. After talking to Li Shenjiao, Fu Jin had a clear idea in his heart. Fu Jin recognized the person perfectly and raised his hand to support his temples, with a crabapple inserted between them. Now that the government has just been established, there are always things that are not appropriate in every part of the government. If there are any issues, there is no need to be constrained. Just come to the main court and tell me, and I will arrange for you. Fu Jin smiled and said, seeming to be the head of the family. Everyone naturally smiled. Later, Fu Jin's gaze fell on Song Shi. Song Shi is an old man and has always been the most disciplined. Then his gaze fell on Li Shenjiao and Bai Jiagege. Li and Bai Jiagege are newcomers, and there are occasional mistakes. As someone from Fujian, I don't want to make things difficult for you either. It's just a matter of rules, I can't forget anything, do you think so? Fujian said. Bai Jia's face turned white for a moment, but she didn't say anything. Li Shenjiao understood that this was a stroke from Fujian, but her heart didn't fluctuate much, so she lowered her eyebrows and agreed with ease. Seeing everyone answering, Fujian smiled and said, "Okay, the Empress gave me some materials. Later, I'll have the servant deliver them to you." This Empress was referring to the Empress Dowager De in the palace, who was the birth mother of the fourth lord. Is this just a slap and a sweet date? Chapter 2. Where does fourth master usually go? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Fujian said something irrelevant again, and then called it a farewell. Everyone left the main courtyard, Li Shenjiao left later, and Bai Jiagege happened to be walking ahead of her. Li Shenjiao walked behind Bai Jiagege, but at a much slower pace than before, talking to Qiuhu as she walked. Bai Jiagege and her maid walked ahead and were also talking, listening to the master and servant talking. It seemed that Bai Jiage's yard was too far away, so she only arrived late today. Li Shenjiao listened, blinked her eyes, and casually asked, "Where does Bai Jiao live?" Qiuhu obediently replied, "It seems to be in the westernmost courtyard." TSK, on both sides of the thing, that's quite far away. Li Shenjiao understood a little better in her heart. Bai Jiagege came late today, and there was something suspicious inside. Is Fu Jin's downfall powerful? Li Shenjiao and the Song family are both Han military flags, and her father is not a high-ranking official. She doesn't know about the Song family, but her father is just a governor of Jiaozhou, Shandong. In fact, Bai Jia's family background is not very good, but they have a Manchu surname, which is quite different. Overall, this first meeting has been successfully completed. Returning to the yard, breakfast was already arranged in the room, probably picked up by autumn porcelain from the pantry. Gugu is accompanied by 2 maids and 1 servant. The autumn pot was brought by her from home, and the autumn porcelain is from the mansion. Gugu. Autumn porcelain quickly bowed when Li Shenjiao came in. Li Shenjiao called out and sat down to eat, feeling extremely hungry. Breakfast is rich, millet congee is thick, 2 sugar bags are small and lovely, a plate of pickled cucumber slices, cut into pieces, eating is refreshing. The taste is also very delicious, especially sugar packets, which are very fresh and sweet. After finishing her meal, Li Shenjiao rinsed her mouth with tea and looked at the autumn pot, saying, "I think the clothes she brought haven't been packed yet. You go pack them first." Autumn pot let out a sigh and turned away. She understood in her heart that Gugu was asking about the situation in the autumn porcelain mansion. She and Gugu had just entered the mansion and now they don't know anything. Li Shenjiao asked a simple question and listened to Qiu Si's answer. Song was chosen by Empress Dowager De to serve 4th Lord last year, while Fu Jin married 4th Lord after January. Now in April, she and Bai Jia have entered the mansion. Oh, there is also a concubine in the mansion, who is the only one I saw today. It seems that Su Shi was originally a palace maid next to Empress Dowager De, who served 4th Lord before Song Shi. Overall, the population of Sibeile Prefecture is simple and there are no descendants yet, which is quite good. Where does 4th master usually go? Li Shenjiao took another sip of tea. It's her beloved Pu'er. Well. 4th master doesn't often enter the backyard, he mostly goes to Fujin's place. Song Gij takes more breaks, and Miss Su occasionally goes to take a look. No special pets, right? That's great, then I'm not afraid of being bullied by my concubine. Li Shenjiao continued to hold her cheeks and said, "Okay, there's nothing else to do. Let's go help Autumn Pot tidy up the clothes." As she spoke, she stood up and headed outside. Qiuqi was stunned for a moment and quickly followed suit. Waiting to tidy up everything, it was almost noon when Autumn Pot went to pick up the food, and she happened to recognize the way. Li Shenjiao then thought of another question. Where are the eunuchs in our courtyard? Autumn Porcelain twitched her lips and said, yes, it's just that Xiaoluzi is young. Before Gugu came, he offended the steward of the garden and got beaten. Now he's recovering from his injuries in the back. Li Shenjiao frowned and pursed her lips, asking, did you get hit on the board? Did Fujin not take care of this? Autumn Porcelain sighed lightly and said, my son Fujin has not yet entered the mansion, and Song Gij is not in charge either. During the days of Fujin's wedding, everything in the mansion was busy, so why bother? He wanted Xiaoluzi to help, but Xiaoluzi refused, so he was beaten. Li Shenjiao looked up at Qiuqi and said, I know. Let him have a good life. Now that I'm here to protect you. Autumn Porcelain's heart warmed and she said in response, yes, even Xiaoluzi understands, and I also understand. Li Shenjiao raised her lips and smiled, making her look even more charming. Autumn Porcelain couldn't help blushing and hesitated, thinking to herself that her own grid was really beautiful, even better than Song's grid. Waiting for the Autumn Pot to bring back lunch, Li Shenjiao had her meal first. 6 dishes and 1 soup, as well as 2 plates of pastries, were all quite good. After eating, Li Shenjiao said to go and rest. Just as the main courtyard brought the food, Li Shenjiao saw it once. The girl who delivered the materials happened to be the one who lifted the curtain outside the main courtyard today, but Li Shenjiao didn't know her. Still, Autumn Porcelain approached and said, Yuru sister. Yuru smiled and respectfully bowed to Li Shenjiao, saying, greetings to Ligue. Fujin asked the servant to bring the materials. Li Shenjiao smiled and said, thank you for taking a trip. I see that the materials are all excellent. Thank you for the reward from Fujin on my behalf. Yuru put the material into the Autumn Pot and listened to Li Shenjiao's words, quickly saying, this is all my duty as a servant. After being polite for a while, Li Shenjiao blinked lightly, and Autumn Pot understood. She twisted her purse and talked to Yuru while giving her a gift. Seeing Yuru leave, Li Shenjiao propped her cheeks and said, send it to the sewing room later. It's about 3 pieces of cloth, one of which is silk green with dark bamboo green patterns on the top, making it very comfortable to touch. One of them is apricot colored, but at first glance, it doesn't seem obvious. The material is better, and it doesn't hurt when touched. The color is also bright and beautiful. One of them is lilac colored, with dark patterns and auspicious clouds, and the texture is not as good. Of course, compared to the other 2 horses, the texture is not as good. Overall, they are all good things. After Li Shenjiao finished giving orders, she was already a bit tired and got up to rest in the inner room. In the main courtyard, Fujin listened to Yuru's words and smiled slightly. The rules are good, and it's best to be well behaved. After a while, Fujin asked again, has 4th Lord left the mansion? Yuru nodded and said, 4th Lord has asked Su Peixing to come and go to 5th Lord's place. The dinner is also served at 5th Lord's place and he will come back later. Fujin let out a and said, ask someone to keep an eye on the gatehouse and see where 4th Master is going when he returns today. Yurufu's body should be. I know. Fujin was also feeling a bit tired. Just as he was about to take a break, he suddenly remembered something. Has the government doctor gone to see the Song family? How is it? Song family has been feeling a bit unhappy these days. Yuru was taken aback for a moment and said, I've already been there. The doctor said. It looks like I've met Shi, but he's not sure. Fujin's lips stiffened with a smile, and he suddenly turned his head. What are you saying? His tone was full of disbelief. The doctor of the mansion said that it was probably due to encountering joy, but the month was small and he dared not make hasty judgments. Yuru pondered and said, afraid of provoking Fujin. Fujin frowned and said, go, ask the imperial physician to come and take a look at the Song family. There's no need to hide it. This was a message that everyone knew. Yuru hurriedly agreed and retreated. Chapter 3. In the backyard, there is also a need for checks and balances. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Li Shenjiao only got the news around dinner time, so she just woke up. Listening to Qiuhu speak, Li Shenjiao was still a bit confused. Just as she woke up, her mind couldn't turn around and she said, "Are you hiring a doctor? Are you sick? Isn't there a doctor in the mansion?" Qiuhu answered with a hint of concern in his eyes. The official doctor has already been there today, and he had previously hired an imperial physician. I think it's Song Gige. What's up? There was something to be said. Li Shenjiao rubbed her messy hair and said, "How are you now?" "I heard that Fujin has also gone," replied Qiuhu. Li Shenjiao woke up a bit, and Fujin had already gone to visit them. She also had to go, and her face furrowed. Let's go see Song Gige's place, too." Qiuzi smiled on the side and said, "Gige, don't worry. I'll start by dressing up and tying your hair again." "Oh, I slept and my hair was messy." The courtyard where Song Gige lives is not far from Li Shenjiao, just walk around the garden and turn right for a while. Therefore, when Li Shenjiao went, it was just the right time. Bai Jiagege also came in a while, and Su had already arrived. She didn't see Fujin, so she thought she was inside. After bowing to each other, Li Shenjiao and Bai Jiagege sat down. After a while, Fujin came out with a smile on his face. This son, Li Shenjiao, has already regained consciousness. Looking at the smile on Fujin's face, she habitually blinked her eyes. "Is this Song Shi, right?" Sure enough, Fujin smiled and said, "Are you all here?" Coincidentally, there is a happy event that has been going on for the Song family for 2 months. Li Shenjiao stood up and responded with a smile, "Congratulations to Fujin, congratulations to Song Gige." Bai Jia quickly stood up and responded. Fujin nodded and said, "Today is a good day. There are rewards for everything, but the Song family is happy. Being too noisy may not be good, so let's leave earlier." Everyone should have dispersed. On the way back, Autumn Porcelain followed and whispered, "Is Fujin really happy?" Li Shenjiao tightened her hand and said, "It doesn't matter whether Gao is happy or not. He has a noble demeanor and is holding the Song family high." For some reason, Li Shenjiao inexplicably felt that the birth of the Song family was a Gige, and even remembered a small Gige walking with the help of the Song family. Blinking again, Li Shenjiao shook her head lightly, thinking she was in a daze. The fourth master returned in the evening and was quite happy to receive news. He went to see the Song family, sat for a while, and then went back to the main courtyard. It's not for any reason, it's just that Song is pregnant and Fujin is in charge of the family. It's inevitable that there was negligence, and the fourth lord went to give orders. Both the husband and wife were well behaved, at least on the surface. Listening to the fourth lord's instructions, Fujin smiled and said, "Fourth lord, be at ease. I will have someone keep an eye on the Song family." "Is Fujin happy?" "I am naturally unhappy, but I still need to put on a happy expression on my face. She is the legitimate Fujin, we cannot lose our composure, we cannot lose face with the Ulanara clan, and besides, she is just a character. Even if she gives birth to an illegitimate eldest son, she will still be the legitimate Fujin, and her status will not waver." Thinking about this, Fujin's smile on his lips became somewhat genuine. "It's getting late, fourth master, take a shower and rest earlier. A good night's sleep." The next day, the fourth master always woke up early and was served by Fujin for breakfast before entering the palace. In the side hall of the Qianqing Palace, I had nothing to do with the third and fifth masters. The fourth master was not in a hurry, so I built the mansion. The tasks took my time, and besides, the crown prince didn't even have a serious job. Around noon, the fourth master went to Yonghe Palace for a meal as usual, and by the way, let me know about the happy occasion of the Song family. The relationship between Empress Dowager and her son is average. It cannot be said that they have a deep affection for each other, but it is not very bad either. It can only be said that Empress Dowager respects her and has never mistreated her. After all, if it's not raised by one hand, the relationship is inevitably shallow, not comparable to brother 14. 14th brother also just returned from the study and saw fourth master coming, bouncing out and saying, "Fourth brother." The fourth master let out a and leaned down slightly to touch the head of the 14th elder brother. There was nothing he could do, as the fourth master was too tall. Standing tall and jade in stature, with a moderate figure, but slightly thin and handsome in appearance, probably due to royal background, there is a calm and confident aura in speech. 14th brother dodged for a moment and said, "Fourth brother, can you touch your head and grow taller?" He will grow taller than fourth brother in the future. Fourth master smiled and said, "You're not tall either." Empress Dowager listened and came out from inside. "Fourth, don't worry about your 14th brother. He's just a skin monkey." The fourth master led the 14th elder brother forward and said, "Auntie, please be safe." 14th elder brother also followed suit and said, then went into the hall on his own. The fourth master, feeling helpless, also walked inside and helped Empress Dowager with his hand. The Empress Dowager patted the fourth lord's hand lightly and said, "Is everything good in the mansion? How is your wife? If there is any negligence, don't blame her. This is also her first time. Consort De is quite satisfied with this daughter. In law, she is well behaved, handles things appropriately, and has no bad intentions." The fourth master nodded and said in a warm voice, "My son understands. Everything is fine in the mansion. Yesterday, a eunuch came to see him and said it was because the Song family had a good day. It's already February." Consort De was surprised for a moment and smiled, "It's a good thing, it's a good thing. Let her have good children and don't treat her unfairly. She used to be a well-behaved and gentle person in the palace." The fourth master just nodded lightly, helped Consort De around the screen and curtain, and then helped Consort De sit down, saying, "My son knows." Consort De's attitude was still very good. Although the Song family has met with joy now, you cannot mistreat Fujin. In the backyard, there is also a need for checks and balances, and your own mansion must not be wrong. Your Emperor Ama has never seen anything dirty, and if something goes wrong, it will not be good to pass it on to your Emperor Ama. My buddies are all grown up, it's hard to guarantee that they won't have bad intentions. The fourth master quickly stood up and said, "Yes, my son has been taught, which has made Yin Yang worry." Indeed, De Fei's words were very pleasing. Empress Dowager simply patted fourth master's shoulder again and said, "All right, sit down. After lunch, rest well so that you can rest well and get enough energy to go to Qianqin Palace." 14th brother changed his clothes and now his son has also come out. The mother and son had lunch together, while the 14th elder brother was young and active, causing trouble for a while before going to rest. The fourth master also accompanied him for a while. The relationship between the two brothers has always been very good. The palace is calm and peaceful, and the mansion is also considered peaceful. Li Shenjiao woke up late yesterday and had a late-night snack, which was the leftover pastry from the day. So she woke up late today. Fortunately, I don't need to go and greet you today. In her own yard, Li Shenjiao dressed casually, in a watercolor flag dress, with a simple pair of hair, a pair of jade hairpins inserted between her hair, and 2 pairs of velvet flowers. It's just that Li Shenjiao's delicate appearance, with such a simple and elegant appearance, actually makes her look beautiful. Li Shenjiao touched the jade hairpin between her hair and said, "Is this prepared by Yin Yang? Why don't I remember having this?" Qiuhu smiled and said, "This is what the master asked the servant to prepare. In addition, there are also a lot of broken silver and a few silver bills." There were several hundred taels of silver. Chapter 4. Why are you strolling outside at this time? Fourth Master asked. You are listening at novel full.audio. Li Shenjiao was stunned for a moment, then instinctively stroked the jade hairpin between her temples and said, when did Emma understand this too? Didn't he say that things from her daughter's house are the least interesting? She couldn't help but laugh. Qiuhu laughed and said, the master asked someone to customize it outside. The master also asked the servants to bring a lot of ass-hide glue, and asked Gugu to eat more and keep fit. Ass-hide glue in Shandong is a tribute every year, and his ama is a prefect in Jiaozhou, so he also keeps a lot of ass-hide glue. Don't misunderstand, Emma didn't embezzle anything. It's all the leftover from the tribute. What Emma bought back was for her health. Her family has a simple population. Alma is the prefect, the Shen family of Yin Yang, and there is also an older brother who already has a family. He married a Han military flag girl surnamed Yin, whom she doesn't know. Her brother got married after she entered the capital. Li Shenjiao's brother is currently working in the Ministry of Revenue as a writer, and his official position is quite young. So is Alma, who has eaten ass-hide glue for many years, and is not afraid of being bored by me. Li Shenjiao was angry. Qiuhu smiled again and said, Gija's mouth is not right. The breakfast has already been brought, it should cool down later. Gij should use the breakfast first. Go for a walk in the garden. Digest. After finishing her meal, Li Shenjiao turned her head and said to Autumn Pot. Autumn Pot smiled and agreed. Li Shenjiao also smiled and said, let's all follow along. There's nothing wrong with either side. Being close to the garden is convenient, Li Shenjiao thought to herself, holding a fan. It is in the prime of spring, with a vibrant atmosphere and blooming flowers. The flowers in the Fourth Lord's mansion are fresher than those outside, and all kinds of flowers can be seen. Occasionally, there are butterflies flying, which is quite beautiful. Li Shenjiao turned half a circle and watched as Fu Jin led a group of people towards the Song family. After a slight avoidance, Li Shenjiao shook her fan and said, are you going to visit? Qiuhu supported Li Shenjiao and said, I think so. Today is the second time we've been together, and looking at those who are following, there are two who look like nannies. Autumn Porcelain said on the other side, Fu Jin also gave Song Gij a lot of things. It's quite lively over there now. Li Shenjiao blinked and said, it's really holding the Song family high. If I still said I didn't make a mistake, I wouldn't know if Fu Jinrong couldn't tolerate the child in Song Gij's belly. After a while, Li Shenjiao shook her head inexplicably and said, then let's go back. It's not good if we run into each other later. Being polite or something like that was quite boring. Two girls agreed. One day passed like this, and the main courtyard gradually sent many things to the Song family. After a day, Li Shenjiao came to a conclusion. The food in the dining room of the Fourth Lord's mansion is really delicious. In the evening, Li Shenjiao had a habit of having dinner for digestion, which she had when she was in the boudoir. Halfway through, I looked at the brightly lit lights ahead. Li Shenjiao shook the fan and stared at it for several times before asking, why do I look like someone is walking this way? Autumn Porcelain quickly tugged at Li Shenjiao and said, Gugu, it's Fourth Master. Li Shenjiao let out an, ah, and then another, ah, disregarding anything else, she quickly walked to the side of the path, bowing her brows and pleasing her eyes. The Fourth Master in front also saw someone, but he didn't know who it was. As he approached, he listened to the voice and said, I'm paying my respects to the Fourth Master. The voice was quite good, not just because it sounded nice, but because it was clear and spoke slowly, it was pleasant to listen to. The Fourth Master lowered his eyes slightly and said, get up. Li Shenjiao obediently stood up. Is it Li's? Why are you wandering outside at this time? Fourth Master asked. Li Shenjiao replied in a proper manner, yes, my servant Li Shi. I had a gluttonous dinner and ate more pastries. I came out for a walk to eat. Fourth master wouldn't think she came to meet by chance, would he? The fourth master looked at Li Shenjiao and said, it's cool at night, so don't come out and walk around. Obviously, he thought Li Shenjiao came out on purpose. However, the fourth master still walked forward with great strides, as if going to Li Shenjiao's yard. Fourth master doesn't really mind this, whether it's intentional or not, he was supposed to come to Li's place today. Ah, I can't even wash myself when I jump into the Yellow River. Li Shenjiao slapped her head with a fan and quickly followed suit. The two maids also felt uneasy behind her, and couldn't help but laugh at their own master's movements. When she arrived at the yard, Li Shenjiao followed fourth master into it. The fourth master finally saw Li Shenjiao's appearance clearly. This morning, he only saw the top of his black hair. He was outside before, and it was dark. Li Shenjiao lowered her head again, only able to see that she was thin. Li Shenjiao is the one who is amazing at the first sight. The more beautiful she looks, the longer her eyes are. Her tail is a little bit up, and her skin is white. She ate ass-hide glue. My mouth is actually very pink and tender, and my lip shape is the kind of one who doesn't smile but also has a three-part smile. When I really smile, it's even more stunning. Face is really important. The fourth master stared at Li Shenjiao several times and said, are you still used to it when you enter the mansion? If there is a shortage, go to the main courtyard and talk. Li Shenjiao replied with a smile, everything in the mansion is fine, there has never been a shortage, and everything in Fujin has been arranged very well. Fourth master let out a soft, and remained silent. Li Shenjiao glanced at fourth master with her spare light, hissing, quite good. Looking. Her temperament was really good, no, it was imposing. She looks much better than her brother, but her aura is a bit scary, but it's still quite good, mainly because she looks good. Li Shenjiao thought heartlessly. The room was quiet when the autumn pot quietly entered and respectfully said, the hot water is ready. This efficiency is quite fast, Li Shenjiao muttered to herself. The fourth master let out a and got up to take a shower in the west wing, while Li Shenjiao was taking a shower in the east wing. After bathing and washing up, Li Shenjiao changed her clothes before going back to the western room. The fourth master is reading a book, but it's not from Li Shenjiao's place. It was brought by the fourth master himself. Anyway, Li Shenjiao has never seen it before. Glancing at the title of the book, it seemed to be a military book. Li Shenjiao didn't find it unusual, so she quietly poured tea on the side and didn't dare to argue with fourth master. Fourth master glanced at Li Shenjiao, waited for her to pour tea, took a sip from her cup, and then continued reading. Li Shenjiao didn't worry either. She drank tea and occasionally ate a dim sum. The bean paste cake in the dining room seemed to be a little worse than that in the main courtyard. After waiting for the fourth master to see it, most of the bean paste cake in front of Li Shenjiao was gone. The fourth master put down his military book and saw this, couldn't help but smile, but only lightly raised his lips. However, Li Shenjiao didn't notice and only saw fourth master put down his military book, so she stopped and sat obediently. Fourth master stood up and turned his head to look at Li Shenjiao, saying, all right, take a break. Li Shenjiao didn't dare to say much, so she replied, for the first time, I was a bit nervous. But what should have come still has to come. This night has passed and only called for water once. The fourth master's action was quite light. A good night's sleep. Chapter 5. It's just that Li was a bit impatient. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day. When waiting for Li Shenjiao to wake up, the figure of fourth master was already gone. Li Shenjiao rolled around on the bed and asked the autumn pot by the bed, fourth lord has left. Why didn't you call me? When I woke up, the fourth lord had already come out, said the autumn pot, holding a cup of warm water that probably started quite early. Very good. Fourth master is very dedicated, but it's just a bit unfortunate. Sure enough, the prince is not so easy to become. Li Shenjiao yawned, drank water, washed herself up briefly, and had breakfast. The fourth master then rewarded her with something regular and simple, with a few pieces of cloth, jewelry, velvet flowers, and a set of tea sets. The extra tea set is quite abrupt. Not long after, Fujin also rewarded something, which was slightly worse than what fourth lord rewarded, but everything was quite good. Li Shenjiao thought it was quite good. Tell the autumn pots to be collected and registered one by one. I picked 2 more colored pieces called autumn porcelain and took them to the sewing room, hoping to make 1 spring outfit and 1 summer outfit. Later on, Song and Bai Jiagege respectively gave gifts, both of which were grid-shaped. Therefore, it cannot be called a reward, it can only be said as a gift. Bai Jiagege gave 2 pairs of bracelets, a pair of earrings, and a can of tea, but it was Biluakun, and Li Shenjiao asked Qiuhu to keep it. Song also gave some jewelry, but an additional box of silver ear was given as a gift. Li Shenjiao looked at the silver ear in surprise and said, "This is really. Keep it, I like this thing." Autumn Pot smiled and agreed. Today, Li Shenjiao is not planning to go out. The fourth master is planning to go to Bai Jiagege's place. If he encounters her again, he will inevitably be hated by Bai Jiagege. Yesterday's incident may have led some people to believe that Li Shenjiao was intentional. Not to mention, some people really think that way. Fujin is the first one to think that way. Did the fourth master go towards the Li family yesterday? Fujin asked without looking up at the ledger. Yu Ruiying said, listening to the servant in the garden, "Fourth master is going that way." Fujin sneered and said, "It's just that Li Shi was too impatient. Even if it wasn't intentional, who would believe it?" Yuru lowered her head. Fujin flipped through a page of the ledger and said, "However, having ambition is just right. In the backyard, there should always be some outstanding people. By the way, Song's place has been closely monitored, and there can be no mistakes at all. Take good care of Song's place, and also ask fourth master to see if I, the legitimate Fujin, can accommodate people." Yuru replied, "The government doctor will go to diagnose the pulse every 5 days. Fujin can rest assured that the mothers who go to serve are all elderly people, so be careful." Fujin exclaimed, "Did Ernyang ask someone to let Ming'er enter the palace?" This Ernyang was referring to Empress Dowager. Yuru quickly responded, "The message I sent to Zhao Mama earlier was probably to instruct Song Gij." Fujin closed the ledger and said, "Don't worry, get your clothes ready. Also, give Bai Jia a pair of bracelets, there's no need to say anything." Although Yuru was puzzled in her heart, she obediently agreed. After yesterday's incident, in Fujin's heart, it was obvious that Li Shenjiao was not so clever. Moreover, yesterday she punished Bai Jiagege, so today she will reward Bai Jiagege and comfort her. Bai Jia received her things here. Although she complained a bit about Fujin putting eye drops on her in front of the fourth lord yesterday, she didn't dare to show it in her heart and had to pretend to be grateful. Therefore, when the fourth lord came in the evening, there was a mistake. While having dinner, Bai Jiagege was feeling uneasy and suddenly slipped and fell. Even the maid who served her couldn't help her, which was quite embarrassing. The fourth master had just stood up and said that he was going inside, but he couldn't help but listen to a cry of surprise. He turned around and watched as both the master and servant of Bai Jia fell to the ground. With a slight frown, fourth master called out, "Su Peisheng, take your sign and invite the imperial physician." Bai Jia's son has been feeling both aggrieved and embarrassed this time. Unfortunately, he fell heavily and could only hang his head, not daring to show off. Upon hearing this, Su Peisheng quickly responded, but he muttered to himself. Why did he still call the imperial physician? I didn't hear any movement, did I? The news was circulating throughout the mansion, and when the fourth lord went to Bai Jiege's place, Su Peisheng was soon seen leading the imperial physician to Bai Jiege's courtyard, whispering one by one. Especially in the main courtyard, when Fu Jin received the news, he was even more puzzled. Can you ask what the reason was? Why did you suddenly hire an imperial physician? Yuru didn't serve him today. It was Yulo who served Fu Jin. Yulo poured a cup of tea and said, I've already asked the servant to ask, but Su Peixing left in a hurry and his words were vague. I don't know what's going on. Fu Jin's expression turned cold and he said, well, there will be news coming out later, let's take it slow. Yulo whispered and dared not say much, knowing that Fu Jin's son was unhappy this time, so he quietly retreated. Here, Bai Jiagege naturally resented Fu Jin countless times in her heart, but dared not show it on her face. She lowered her eyebrows and obediently applied medicine to the doctor. The imperial physician has already heard the doctor's description, it's not a big deal, it's just some skin and flesh injuries. It will take 2 days to recover. The fourth master sat outside, and Su Peixing's son finally understood what had happened. He sighed and asked, Master, there are still official documents ahead. This is asking fourth master if he wants to leave. Fourth master waved his hand and said, let's rest for now and return to the front yard later. This meant to stay for a while. Upon hearing this, Bai Jiagege almost didn't cry. Of course, it wasn't sad, it was happy. If fourth master just left like this, she would be embarrassed. Originally, this day was a good thing, but she even fell. The mansion doesn't know how to look at her. Fortunately, fourth master said he wants to stay for a while. After listening to it, Su Peixing went to the front yard to bring those irrelevant official documents. The fourth master is not on duty now, and the documents he reads are nothing more than a greeting note presented by the local official. Inside, Bai Jiagege applied medicine and cautiously came out to apologize, I am foolish, please punish fourth master. The fourth master reviewed the official documents without looking up and said, it's okay. Just be careful from now on, let's go in and rest. Bai Jiagege felt a lot better in her heart and was helped back to the inner room by another maid. Fourth master didn't wait much either. After approving the official documents, he went back to the front yard. However, Su Peixing was tired and had to run back and forth several times. At this moment, Fu Jin also knew that something had happened. He didn't laugh or scold for a moment, saying, why did you fall? Yesterday, it was not a foolish person to greet you. The first time Fourth Lord saw you, he just fell like this. I'm not afraid of losing my favor. Fu Jin frowned and said, it's really. Give her something so that she can have a good life and not worry about others. Yulo suddenly said, Fu Jin, she has sent a message. Fu Jin suddenly turned his head and said, did she do this? Did she follow and serve? Yulo nodded cautiously and said, yes. Fu Jin smiled slowly and said, tell her to be careful, everything belongs to me. Chapter 6. Seems to have gone to Ligue's place. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yulo should say, she understands everything. Fu Jin calmed his expression and said, has Fourth Lord returned to the front yard? Hey, I stayed at Bai Jiegege's place for a while and only returned to the front yard when it was getting dark, said Yulu. Fu Jin nodded lightly and said, after all, I gave Bai Jiagege some thin noodles to avoid making her so embarrassed. That's all, I'll choose better things to send. Yulo agreed and quickly went out to arrange. The things were delivered to Bai Jiagege's place, and at that time Bai Jiagege's face changed. Her expression seemed to wish to throw those things back into the main courtyard. After a while, Bai Jiagege slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and said to the girl who was delivering something outside the screen, thank Fu Jin for me, it's just that I have a severe headache. The little girl outside hurriedly said, I'm bothering you, Gugu needs to rest. I'm leaving. Seeing the person leave, Bai Jiagege sneered and said, put all the things in the backyard. The same goes for the things that Fu Jin sent earlier. Bai Jiagege originally didn't blame Fu Jin much, but Fu Jin gave something again. Bai Jiagege suddenly remembered why she fell, and naturally felt angry. So, in just a few days, Bai Jiagege unilaterally disliked Fujin. The girl Danqing should have said, "Gige, what should Dangge do next?" If Dangge had helped Gige today, she wouldn't have caused such a thing. Danqing is a maid brought by Bai Jiagege herself, while Dangge is a person from the Internal Affairs Office, so her familiarity is naturally different. Bai Jiagege gritted her teeth and said, "It's okay, just punish her casually and make her more clever." It was just when using people. Danqing agreed and waited on Bai Jiage's rest. Li Shenjiao in the east was the last one to know about this matter, so she overslept during her nap. After listening to Qiuqi finish speaking, Li Shenjiao lazily yawned and her delicate little face softened a bit. "Did you fall? So careless." Li Shenjiao yawned twice before asking. Autumn Porcelain held tea and handed it to Li Shenjiao, saying, "I don't know, maybe it's true. Fourth Master has already returned to the front yard. It's hard to say if he fell on his own." Li Shenjiao took a sip from the teacup and said, "Oh, what will we have for dinner?" Autumn Pot came in from outside and immediately covered her mouth with a smile. "The dinner has been set up, let's have a meal in a grid." Upon hearing this, Li Shenjiao stood up and walked outside. Today's dinner would be lighter, but there were still two main dishes. Bamboo shoot beef, looks light, but it's really spicy. Li Shenjiao, who was so spicy, quickly drank a small bowl of vegetarian soup. There is also a braised tofu dish, which looks spicy but tastes quite fresh. Another dish is a steamed sea bass, which is not particularly fishy. It has a layer of ginger slices on the bottom and hot oil on the top, making it very delicious. The fish is very fresh. Anyway, Li Shenjiao likes it quite a bit and ate most of it. Dim sum is jujube cake, but Li Shenjiao didn't touch it. She usually keeps dim sum to eat at ordinary times. Although there are a dish or two of cakes every day, Li Shenjiao doesn't like eating when eating. After finishing her meal, Li Shenjiao ate and drank enough. She walked around the yard for 2 rounds of digestion, listening to the Autumn Pot inside saying that hot water was ready, and then went inside to take a shower. After taking a shower, Li Shenjiao sat by the couch holding a book and occasionally tasted a piece of jujube paste cake. When it was almost time, the candles were dripping with tears, and Li Shenjiao felt tired, so she took a rest. After serving her for 2 days, Autumn Porcelain became adept, mainly because Li Shenjiao's life was very regular. But in the rules, it makes people feel at ease and peaceful, and every day seems to have different interests. Thinking about it, Autumn Porcelain smiled. Everywhere in the mansion was safe and sound, and Fujin felt at ease. After visiting the palace, Empress Dowager did not make things difficult for her. She taught her a few words, but instead gave her a lot of rewards. Fujin returned to the mansion and simply distributed the rewards given by Empress Dowager to everyone. He then went to see the Song family and was busy with other things. It's really not easy to be a Fujin. After everything was done and it was almost noon, Fujin rubbed his temples and said, "Fourth Lord is also having lunch at Yonghe Palace today." Yuru should have said, "Yes, I have already sent someone a message back earlier, and they said that the 3rd and 5th masters will also come for dinner tonight. Let Fujin arrange it properly." Fujin's kneading motion paused and said, "Are you having dinner in the front yard?" Yuru nodded and said, "Yes." Fujin then ordered, "Go to the front yard and tell them to be more careful." The cafeteria in front also instructed that there should be no mistakes. "If you go everywhere again, tell them not to wander around today." "Yes, I'll go now." Yuru quickly went. In the palace, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th masters stayed in the Qianqing Palace for a whole morning. When they each went back to have lunch, they were talking. The brothers had a good relationship and were about to go to the 4th master's place for dinner. At Sanye's place, the brothers had already had a drink at Qian Shi Soa before their wedding, and this time it was naturally 4th Ye's turn. In the evening, the brothers returned to 4th Lord together. Fujin had already arranged everything and listened to the gatekeeper say that Fourth Lord and his companions had returned. I wasn't too busy welcoming him. First, I asked Yuru to go to the front yard to take a look. After confirming that there were no mistakes, I listened to the servants say that the brothers had already gone to the front yard, so I went to show them. After casually saying a few words, Fujin came out and the accompanying Yulo asked, "Why doesn't Fujin stay a little longer?" Fujin let out a soft breath and said, "Staying for a long time can easily reveal mistakes. Once arranged properly, that's it. By the way, ask the front yard to prepare some more sobering soup, and then ask the gatekeeper to prepare the carriage. At night, the wind is strong and I feel unconscious while drinking. Riding a horse is inconvenient, so it's better to have a carriage to make people feel at ease." Yulo quickly responded, yes, it was Fujin who was thoughtful. After a tiring day, Fujin didn't have the heart to think so much. After returning to the main courtyard for dinner, he fell asleep in front of the bed. Upon seeing this, Yuru quickly closed the window outside and covered Fujin with a thick cloak, which was prone to slipping off. When Fujin woke up and it was already half dark, he took 2 sips of water to moisten his throat and said, "How's it going ahead?" "The 3rd and 5th masters have all gone back, and the 4th master is also not drinking well. Previously. It seems like he went to Lige's place," Yuru replied. Fujin rubbed his temples again and said, "It's just." Yuru quietly looked up at Fujin and saw that his face was a bit unhappy. She said, "Fujin, it's getting late too. The hot water is ready, you should rest earlier. Tomorrow is already 15. Everyone was coming to pay their respects, and his face was haggard. How could that be? Fujin nodded and was supported by Yuru to take a bath, then he extinguished his candle and rested early. On Li Shenjiao's side, she had just started having dinner when she heard from the autumn pot outside that the 4th master had arrived. Li Shenjiao didn't have time to swallow the steamed shrimp dumplings in her mouth, so she quickly went out. Although the 4th master drank a lot of alcohol and was a bit drunk, he only drank the sobering soup. His son can only be said to be completely intoxicated at this moment. Li Shenjiao still had shrimp dumplings in her mouth, so she gave a vague greeting and quickly swallowed the shrimp dumplings in her mouth. Chapter 7. You should all learn from the Li family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a while, Li Shenjiao didn't hear the call, so she quietly tilted her head and glanced at 4th master. Then Li Shenjiao saw 4th master staring straight at her, and she stuttered. Fourth master. The 4th master nodded inexplicably and said seriously, "Get up." Li Shenjiao didn't know that 4th master was drunk yet. She thought 4th master was strange today, but she still stood up obediently. Su Peixing, who was supporting 4th master on the side, quickly said, "Ligue, 4th master has been drinking a bit too much today." Li Shenjiao blinks, "What does that mean?" "Wait, I've had too much to drink. It turns out I'm drunk." Li Shenjiao said, "All right, let's help 4th master rest inside first. The wind is strong outside." "Yes, it's only April now, and the night is still a bit chilly." Su Peixing quickly agreed and helped the 4th lord into the room with the young eunuch. There was no way, as the 4th lord was too tall and Li Shenjiao couldn't help him. When the 4th master was helped in, Li Shenjiao followed in. When he entered, the 4th master sat by the couch, not moving or speaking. Not to mention, he's quite well behaved. Li Shenjiao asked, "4th lord hasn't bathed yet?" Su Peixing's answer is yes. Li Shenjiao waved her hand and called the autumn pot to prepare hot water. Then she poured half a cup of warm water herself and handed it to 4th master, saying, "Master, take a sip of water slowly." 4th master is quite obedient when he gets drunk. Listening to Li Shenjiao's words, he took a sip from Li Shenjiao's hand holding a teacup and looked at her after finishing it. Li Shenjiao miraculously understood what 4th master meant, and her gaze was saying, "Do you still want it?" Li Shenjiao quickly poured another half cup, and now it was on the lips of fourth master. After feeding for a while, fourth master suddenly turned his head. Li Shenjiao was taken aback for a moment before realizing it. Fourth master didn't want to drink anymore, so he put down his teacup. Coincidentally, the autumn pot had already boiled the water. In fact, the water was originally used by her to bathe, and Li Shenjiao's heart was filled with bitter tears. There's no way, fourth master is the real master. Let Su Peixing outside take care of fourth master's bath, and Li Shenjiao quickly went to eat the half-cold dinner outside. Fortunately, there was still some warmth left in the shrimp dumplings. Qiu quickly came in and said, "Gige, the dishes are all cold. Wait for a moment, I'll take them to the pantry to heat up." Li Shenjiao stuffed 2 more shrimp dumplings and said, "All right, you can bring some money. It's so late. Taking some money won't offend anyone." Waiting for the fourth master to finish bathing, Li Shenjiao waited on him to rest. Yes, the drunk fourth master was not scary and quite obedient, but it was really annoying. Li Shenjiao, who was tired and paralyzed, got up and stuffed 2 honey date cakes. Her cheeks were bulging as she ate, so she slightly recovered. This is really annoying. Later, Li Shenjiao also finished washing and bathing, and came out to use for dinner first. It's hot now, and the dining room has added 2 more dishes, which is quite good. Having had dinner, Li Shenjiao took a light step and glanced at fourth master. "Good guy, the bed has been taken up. So fourth master is so drunk and sleepless." Li Shenjiao leaned her cheeks and couldn't help but laugh. Then she walked out and ordered Qiu to guard, but there was no need to give orders. There was Su Peixing. Then Li Shenjiao went to the east wing room to rest. Autumn porcelain had already been tidied up, although it was not as good as the west wing room, as long as it could sleep. "I'll wake up early tomorrow and go to the dining room to get some light soup. Fourth master will probably have a headache when he wakes up tomorrow, and hangover tea is also good, so I don't have to go to bed," Li Shenjiao warned before going to bed. The next day. "Gige, you should get up now." Autumn Pot called to Li Shenjiao. After calling for a while, Li Shenjiao woke up leisurely. "When is it?" Li Shenjiao asked. Qiu quickly helped Li Shenjiao up and said, "It's already chincher." Li Shenjiao exclaimed, "Ah," and instantly became clear. "Has fourth master left?" "I've been away for a while now, and I had some sobering tea before I left," said Qiu as she waited on Li Shenjiao to dress. Li Shenjiao blinked and couldn't help but yawn. "Then why are you still calling me up?" She seemed to forget that today is a day to bid farewell. Qiu helplessly said, "Gige, did you forget? It's already 15 today and I'm going to the main courtyard to pay my respects." Upon hearing this, Li Shenjiao patted her head and said, "Look at me, I'm all confused. Hurry up, tidy up and go to the main courtyard." Finally, Li Shenjiao didn't even have time for breakfast to arrive at the main courtyard. Not late. Li Shenjiao walked a bit hastily all the way, and when she entered, she shook her fan, which was a bit hot. "The Song family has arrived, and their face looks good. The Su family is also here, and the Bai Jia family has not arrived yet. It is estimated that they will not come today. They are recovering from their injuries." After meeting the Song family, Li Shenjiao only looked up at them, and the feeling of that day surged back in her heart. Li Shenjiao lowered her head slightly, pinched her temples lightly, and muttered softly, "Why did that scene come out again? Are you in a daze?" "My mind was filled with scenes of Song holding a small grid." Li Shenjiao shook her head lightly and cursed herself a few times in her heart. "Just as I was thinking about it, I saw Bai Jiagege coming. I was a little surprised, but I still got up to greet Bai Jiagege, who smiled and said, 'I'm late again. Don't make fun of me.' Spring fatigue and laziness are also present, and if it weren't for my maid calling me this morning, I wouldn't have known how to get up," said Song. After speaking, she also smiled. Bai Jia smiled and couldn't see any embarrassment. The three of them spoke haphazardly, and then saw Fujin come out. Fujin is wearing a red flag dress today, with auspicious clouds and dark patterns on the top, with hidden gold threads interspersed between them, which is very luxurious. Today, the headdress is a set of delicate and precious items, but today, Fujin did not wear the cloisonné armor. Seeing everyone bowing, Fujin called out and saw everyone sitting down. He slowly spoke, "Yesterday, I was thinking about it. Now that song is fit, the arrangement of the dining room may not be suitable. How about adding another soup and a side dish?" Then his gaze fell on Li Shenjiao and Bai Jia, saying, "Of course, song has it. I don't think I can treat you unfairly, so I'll add another dish." Everyone quickly stood up and said, "Thank you very much, Fujin." The smile on Fujin's lips widened a bit. It's April now, and as summer approaches, don't leave the materials behind. The sewing room is also free now. Just take it and ask them to cut it to make clothes. At the same age, you should wear brighter clothes. The fourth master also likes it. You should all learn from the Li family. Li Shenjiao lowered her eyes and half-jokingly said, "I remember that Fujin is as big as me. Fujin shouldn't always focus on the servants, you should also dress more brightly." She then looked up at Fujin and smiled. Indeed. People are more delicate than flowers. Fujin was taken aback for a moment and didn't know how to take on the words. After a while, he smiled and said, "You guys are dressed brightly, and I, as a Fujin, look happy in my heart." Chapter 8. Isn't it too flamboyant? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Shenjiao smiled and replied, "I can't have such a broad-mindedness as Fujin." Fujin smiled faintly and said, "Li sure, you are clever, that's good. But being too clever is not good." Bai Jiagege suddenly interjected, "Fujin should have looked at Sister Song and the servant. Why are they all filled with Ligue? It seems that Ligue is indeed causing Fujin to have a deep affection for him." Fujin smiled and said, "Bai Jiagege, you are also a clever person. Your speech is more pleasing to the ear than Ligue's." Song Shi smiled faintly on the side, just as a spectator. A little later, everyone dispersed. Li Shenjiao walked ahead and remained silent for a while. Autumn Pot supported Li Shenjiao and whispered, "What is Gugu thinking?" Li Shenjiao looked back leisurely and said, "I seem to have made a mistake. Do I remember that Fujin is 2 years older than me?" Qiuhu chuckled in silence and said, "Is that why Gige hasn't been talking all along? I just feel that Fujin is not very old either, so there's no need to pretend to be old and mature. They are all at the same age as flowers. At the age of a flower, learning to engage in intrigue, yesterday we were still disgusted with each other, and today we can talk with a smile." Li Shenjiao rubbed her temples for a while before spitting out 2 words. "I'm hungry." Qiuhu couldn't help but laugh again. Gige was really impressive. Just now, he had a deep expression on his face, and the next moment he changed. Returning to the yard and having breakfast, I saw the maid from the sewing room delivering the clothes. "Oh, it's the material that I gave you earlier. Only one piece was sent, the one in silk blue with a bamboo green dark pattern on top, so there was no need to add so much embroidery decoration, only a few silver threads were added at the dark pattern." Li Shenjiao liked it at first sight and quickly changed it on. Looking through the bronze mirror, it looked quite beautiful, and the person who matched it became even more delicate and tender. Li Shenjiao turned around and suddenly remembered what Fujin had said today, blinking slightly. Is that what happened? Fujin learned from the sewing room that she had sent the materials to the sewing room, and felt that she only knew how to dress up and flirt with fourth master, which made her unhappy. Li Shenjiao couldn't think of any other reason, so she lightly twitched the corners of her mouth. Is this also worth making disgusting? Take the remaining materials to the sewing room and ask them to hurry up with 2 summer outfits. Remember to bring some broken silver, Li Shenjiao instructed to Qiuzi. Harmful, even Fu Jin has made her dress up, can she still not dress up? Is it her fault to look good? Look at what Bai Jia said today. Li Shenjiao said that she was very embarrassed. She was born by her parents. I can't help it, but maybe eating ass-hide glue can make up for it. Li Shenjiao's eyes brightened. Qiuhu, come here, go to the warehouse and get 2 copies of ass-hide glue respectively, and send them to Fu Jin and Bai Jiagege. She said ass-hide glue can improve your face, and Song Gij will send my round fan of osmanthus. Song is pregnant, and there may be taboos about what she eats, especially since it is disgusting for Fu Jin and Bai Jia. Li Shenjiao is just a person who is so arrogant. Ah bah, kindness is right. She is making Fu Jin and Bai Jiashe more beautiful. Qiuhu has laughed enough these past few days, and now she can't even move anymore. She said yes and then turned back. Guji's move is truly extraordinary. That's it. It's a pity that the Dangge round fan is a good warm jade, which is worth a lot of ass-hide glue. As for whether Fu Jin and Bai Jia will use ass-hide glue, Qiuhu personally thinks it is impossible. First, they are afraid of poisoning their own Gij, joking, and second. It is estimated that Fu Jin and Bai Jiagege will be angry when they see ass-hide glue. Qiuhu first sent the things to the main courtyard, so Fu Jin naturally wouldn't see Qiuhu, this little girl, coming out of the Jade Tower. Listening to Qiuhu explain his purpose, Yulo felt a bit strange. This morning, Yuru followed and Yulo arranged to go to the back kitchen. Therefore, he didn't know what had happened in the main courtyard today, so Yulo picked up the things. Qiuhu saw Yulo carrying something inside, grinned for a moment, and then walked outside in small steps. In no time, Qiuhu heard the sound of porcelain falling to the ground and shattering inside. Qiuhu swallowed a mouthful of saliva and quickly walked away. Bai Jia's reaction on this side is also similar. Autumn Pot didn't rush back after delivering things, but went to the kitchen to pick up lunch. Li Shenjiao waited for Qiuhu to come back, listened to Qiuhu's description, smiled several times, and then had lunch with satisfaction. After finishing lunch, go ahead and eat as usual. Just walk around the yard to eat, it's too unsafe outside. Autumn Porcelain followed and silently asked the question in her heart, isn't Gugu too flamboyant? She offended someone. Li Shenjiao turned her head and gave Qiuzi a deep glance, so why did they suddenly target me today? Autumn Porcelain hesitated, is it because of fourth master? Li Shenjiao nodded lightly and said, because of affection, my fourth master got drunk yesterday. They thought it was because of my good looks. Today, they mocked me for being too focused on dressing up. Isn't Bai Jiashe saying that I have made Fu Jin also take pity on me? You wouldn't still think that I'm trying to compromise and pretend it didn't happen, would you? Or, you still hold on to the idea that I want to establish a good relationship with your family's character? As long as the fourth lord comes, such things will happen, so it's better to deal with them one by one. As for the consequences, I just sent ass-hide glue to Fu Jin and Bai Jiagege. Can they blame me for my good intentions? Li Shenjiao said the word, good intentions, more seriously. Autumn Porcelain stared blankly, feeling in her heart that the way Gugu had just spoken was well taken care of, and her eyes were shining, even more beautiful than she was in the main courtyard today. Li Shenjiao suddenly turned her head and flicked Autumn Porcelain's forehead, saying, what are you thinking? Gij is really beautiful. Not. Autumn Porcelain instinctively spoke her heart and then covered her mouth. Li Shenjiao smiled again, and the smiling person said sweetly, you are telling the truth. Try ass-hide glue. It can become beautiful. Autumn Porcelain shook her head and said, that's what Gugu eats. Li Shenjiao chuckled and said, silly girl, I often eat autumn pots. If I give them to you, you can bear them. Is it possible that you're still afraid that I won't poison your house? In Guji's eyes, there is really light. Autumn Porcelain smirked twice. Li Shenjiao patted Autumn Porcelain again and said, "Have you really become a silly girl?" The yard was filled with laughter and joy. In the evening, when the fourth master returned from the palace and listened to Su Peisheng's account of what had happened today, the corner of his lips couldn't help but curl. "Do you remember that there are still materials for the youth festival reward in the warehouse? Choose a few fresh and beautiful ones to send to the Li family, and then choose a box of jewelry." After a slight pause, the fourth master said, "In addition, give her some as-hide glue." "Ah!" Su Peisheng exclaimed, feeling a bit unresponsive for a moment. Fourth master turned his head and gave him a light glance, but Su Peisheng didn't have time to think much and hurriedly went to Britain. As I walked, I was still pondering. Fourth master, do you think Ligue did the right thing? Chapter 9. That's Bai Jiagege, please ask the imperial physician. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Shenjiao received a reward on her end, but she still hadn't realized it yet. She thought this matter was over. Isn't this reward from fourth master just a slap in the face of Fujin? However, the material is still quite good. Li Shenjiao touched it and held her chin in her hand, thinking whether to send the material to the sewing room. She has sent a lot of it in the past 2 days. Forget it, it's enough for her to wear. Let's wait until summer comes before making it. Jewelry, Li Shenjiao picked out a pair of earrings and 2 bracelets, and then picked out a few hairpins. They look pretty good. As for as-hide glue, Li Shenjiao yawned and said lazily, let's put it behind you. Later, fourth master went to the main courtyard. The fourth master only returned to the mansion after having dinner, so he stayed on the couch and read history books. He changed a book. Waiting for Fujin to come in after eating, the fourth master looked at the book and said, Li sure has a heart. Although as-hide glue is not strange, it is also her heart. The smile on Fujin's lips almost didn't stiffen, and after a while, he finally squeezed out a sentence. She's a thoughtful person, I like her when I see her. Fourth master, and stopped speaking. Today's matter, Fujin is right, Bai Jiagege is right. They just don't speak well, and similarly, Li Shenjiao is also right. She just has a heart. Fujin didn't speak anymore, but he couldn't help feeling a bit uncomfortable in his heart. But ultimately, I can still imagine it. After a while, the fourth master spoke up again. The fifth younger brother said that his younger siblings will hold a flower viewing banquet in a few days, and asked Fujin to go. Wu Yi has only recently gotten married, so it seems that Wu Fujin wanted to establish a relationship and hold this flower viewing banquet. Fujin nodded lightly and said, okay, it's all sister.in.law. I'll go see her tomorrow and ask about the date and time. It's better to go earlier. Fourth master let out a sound again. The couple doesn't talk much either, mainly because the fourth lord doesn't talk much and Fujin values rules, so it's really unclear what to talk about together. A good night's sleep is enough. On Li Shenjiao's side, it's time to eat and drink. Occasionally, she goes out to see the flowers feeding the fish. She has a good childhood. Well, just as I walked out of the yard and into the garden, I met Song Gugu. The two of them greeted each other and then sat in the pavilion in the center of the garden chatting. I really liked the fan you sent me earlier, but it cost you a lot, said Song with a smile. Li Shenjiao waved her hand and said, Song Gija's words are all external things. I'm just looking for a good owner for it. Li Shenjiao has no ill intentions towards Song Shi, mainly because Song Shi has no ill intentions towards her, so the two of them can quite chat. But the only thing that made Li Shenjiao regretful was that she felt a little headache when she saw Song Shi, and her mind was filled with the image of Song Shi holding a small grid. Li Shenjiao instinctively rubbed her temples again, feeling strange in her heart. Due to this matter, Li Shenjiao really didn't stay much and felt a headache. After chatting for a while, Li Shenjiao left first. Song watched as Li Shenjiao left and said, don't have any conflicts with Ligue in our courtyard, do you understand? The girl smiled and replied, don't worry, Gugu. We all speak well in the same courtyard. Well, it's getting late, let's go back too. Song glanced in the direction where Li Shenjiao was walking again and said after a while. I don't know if it's her illusion, she always feels like Ligue is avoiding her. Li Shenjiao and Song have separated here, and soon Bai Jiagege also came to the garden for a stroll. Coincidentally, when fourth master returned from the palace and passed by the garden, he met him. From a distance, fourth master saw a person in a jade-colored dress ahead. He knew he wasn't a servant and frowned lightly. Who is that? Su Peixing twitched his lips and replied, Master, that's Bai Jiagege. Please invite the imperial physician. Fourth master exclaimed, Are you okay with your injury? Let's take a stroll in the garden. Don't misunderstand, this is not that fourth lord cares about Bai Jiagege. It's because he dislikes Bai Jiagege and feels that Bai Jiagege is deliberately wandering around. This is exactly when the fourth lord returns to his mansion. The last time I met Li Shenjiao, although the fourth master didn't say anything, he still remembered it in his heart. The fourth master frowned and ordered, Tomorrow I will go to the main courtyard and say something. The fourth master suddenly remained silent again. After a moment of reflection, he realized that there were constant incidents of competing for favor. He still wanted to give some guidance to Fujin and not disrupt the rules of the mansion. Tomorrow, you should go to the main courtyard. There's no need to say anything else, just tell Fujin. The master only takes charge when he knows about her. It's inevitable that there will be some inappropriate things, but the government still needs to regulate them. Su Peixing was busy and looked up at Bai Jiage's side, saying, So. The fourth master snorted and said, All right, go pass on a message. I'll go see her tonight. Su Peixing breathed a deep sigh of relief. It was now possible to hand over the task, and it was also his foolish disciple who took Bai Jiage's things. Only his master came to clean up this mess. The fourth master didn't even look over there, so he turned around and walked halfway. Suddenly, the fourth master stopped and asked, How is Li's side? Su Peixing was taken aback for a moment and quickly replied, Ligue is doing well over there. Yesterday, a local doctor went to check his pulse as usual and said that Ligue is healthy and everything is fine. The fourth master turned around and said, Go and take a look at her. How could Su Peixing not understand this? Look, compared to Ligue, it is obvious that the master now cares more about Ligue. When they arrived at Li Shenjiao's yard, only a girl came out to greet them, but they didn't see Li Shenjiao. Su Peixing asked the girl, also known as Chuchi, Where are you, Gugu? Why hasn't the fourth lord come out to greet you? Autumn Porcelain quickly bowed and said, I bid farewell to fourth lord, Gugu. Gugu is inside. Inside, Li Shenjiao was anxiously getting dressed. After returning from the garden and strolling around, her body was sweating profusely, so she called for a bath. Who could have imagined that my son, the fourth lord, will be here soon? Wearing clothes while calling Qiuhu to roll up her hair, Li Shenjiao finally tidied up as she saw fourth master coming in. I would like to bid farewell to fourth master, who is very auspicious. Li Shenjiao lowered her eyebrows and bowed with a pleasing expression. The fourth master looked at Li Shenjiao's slightly damp hair, understood a bit, and then disappeared from the fuss and strode into it. Li Shenjiao followed in and handed tea to fourth lord. Li Shenjiao said, I just took a bath and made fourth lord wait for a long time. The fourth master only and said, It's because I didn't ask anyone to come and pass it on in advance. It's okay. What have you been doing these days? Li Shenjiao sat down first and looked up to see that the fourth lord had no signs of anger before saying, There's nothing else to do. Go stroll around the garden, walk around the yard, talk to the maids, or read some leisure books. It's all these pleasures. Chapter 10. When I have free time, I'll come and see you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The fourth master exclaimed, again, if anything is missing, go to the main courtyard and tell it. There's no need to hide it. This was the second time the fourth master had said it. Li Shenjiao smiled at the words and said, "Yes, Fujin treats the servants very well, and there won't be any shortage." After taking a sip of tea, the fourth master stopped talking. Li Shenjiao didn't know what to say for a moment, so she twisted the cakes on the table to taste. Today, another one is bean paste cake. It's soft and sweet, and the taste is the flavor of mung bean, soft and glutinous. After eating 2 or 3 pieces, Li Shenjiao thought that the fourth master was still there, then she tilted her head and blinked her eyes and asked, "This is the bean paste cake from the canteen today. Please try it. The food that my daughter eats at home is mostly sweet and greasy." The fourth master didn't like it very much and was thinking of rejecting it. But when he looked up at Li Shenjiao, who was tilting her head and blinking her eyes at him, the fourth master suddenly couldn't say a word of rejection on his lips. It took him a while for a quiet word to come out. "Okay. She looks so good, she's too embarrassed to say anything that would be rejected." Li Shenjiao gave a silly smile, hurriedly twisted a piece of bean paste cake, reached out and handed it to the fourth master. "Do you want to taste it?" With bean paste cake twirling, the nails that are often trimmed are pink, but they are not painted with anything, that is, pink is tender, and the lining hands are more slender and beautiful. The fourth master took it as soon as he was hot-headed. When he touched his fingertips, he drew back his hands abruptly. Fortunately, the bean paste cake in his hands declined. Li Shenjiao let out a soft breath. The fourth master felt a little hot and dry, so he ate the small piece of bean paste cake and drank tea. "It's warm." The fourth master coughed lightly twice and said, "There is still official business in the front yard. I'll leave first." He got up and then seemed to remember something again. He turned his head and said, "I'll come and see you when I have time." Li Shenjiao answered yes first, and when she saw fourth master saying such a brainless sentence again, she smiled and said, "Yes." Watching fourth master leave, Li Shenjiao couldn't help but smile again. Fourth master is quite cute. Bai Jiagege did indeed intentionally come out at this time, and saw fourth master from afar. Bai Jiagege was secretly pleased in her heart, but she concealed it very well on her face. "I thought the fourth lord would come over, but I didn't expect him to turn around and leave. I was feeling lost, so I listened to the eunuch's message saying that the fourth lord would come over tonight. Joyfully returned to the yard to dress up and wash up, and then turned around to hear that the fourth master had gone to Lige's place." Bai Jiagege couldn't be happy anymore. This is ups and downs. Just as she was in a daze, she heard the maid say that fourth master's son had already left. Bai Jiage's heart slowly sank as she instructed the servant to prepare water. Waiting for the fourth master to arrive, serving him with meals, while he was about to take a bath, Su Peixing heard him calling outside, "Master, the girl from Song Gija's place is here." Life is like this. Ups and downs. Well, today it's just a basket of water and nothing, it's all in vain. Bai Jiagege felt resentful in her heart, but she didn't dare to express it. After all, Song Gij still had one in his stomach, so she could only respectfully bid farewell to fourth master and watch him go to Song Gija's place. Nowadays, Bai Jiagege is considered the worst performer in the mansion, no wonder she wasted all her efforts to make such a mess today. As a result, it still didn't work. The girl Danqing brought her dinner and comforted her in a low voice, "Gugu mochi, the days ahead are still long. Don't be angry and ruin your body, then it's not worth it. Let's use the dinner for now." Upon hearing this, Bai Jiagege sneered and said, "Dinner? Don't even look at what the pantry brings." She had been pampered since childhood, how could she have eaten something so greasy and cold? Another girl, Dangge, said, "Yes. I took them to the pantry and asked them to heat up." Bai Jiage's eyes flickered slightly as she waved her hand and said, "Well, they won't pay attention to sending it to her son this time. Bring me today's pastry and I'll taste it." Upon hearing this, Dangge's eyes flashed with a hint of disappointment, but she didn't say anything more and went to fetch the pastry. On the second day, Fujin went to visit Wuya Mansion early in the morning to see Wufujin. Everywhere was safe and sound, except for Bai Jiagege, who took his maid to visit the Song family with a premature meal. However, Song Shi did not see her and only called the maid out, saying, "Bai Jiagege, don't worry. Our Gugu was feeling unwell last night, and the imperial physician treated her all night. She also slept restlessly. Her son just took a break this time, so we have to see you on time." Bai Jia gritted her teeth and made a scene of embarrassment. She had to smile stiffly and said, "Well, since that's the case, I'll come see Sister Song another day." Song Shi listened inside and leaned against the bed, swaying slightly. She couldn't help but laugh and said, "She's too impatient. She'll have to suffer from it in the future." The girl bent down and pounded Song's leg. Upon hearing this, she only nodded lightly, but still lowered her eyebrows and obediently pounded her leg. "Yeah, I can't eat hot tofu in a hurry. The days ahead will be long, but now I'm in a hurry. What should I do in the future? Now that Bai Jia is like this, isn't it just a matter of urgency? But when I feel anxious, why am I so anxious that I don't even have a brain?" As Song was about to take a break, she heard the girl rushing in and saying, "No, Gidge." In the garden, Miss Su accidentally bumped into Bai Jiagege. Bai Jiagege's son is currently calling for someone to hit Miss Su's board. Song was slightly stunned and twitched the corner of his mouth, saying, "Is this really driving his brain crazy?" The servant girl then spoke up, "Gidge." Song smiled and said, "We don't need to get involved in this matter. The worse Bai Jiagege's fight, the better Su's future will be." In the garden, Song didn't want to get involved, and Li Shenjiao, who was close to the garden, didn't want to get involved either. The main reason was that she had just woken up and didn't have much energy. That's right, Li Shenjiao just fell asleep for a while when she was awakened by Su's girl. It turned out that this girl had come to call for help. Li Shenjiao blinked her eyes and gave the little girl an idea. "You can't come to me either. Bai Jiagege is not afraid of me, but you can go to the front yard. The front end is also the person next to the fourth lord, so Bai Jiagege dare not continue to be reckless." The little girl suddenly became agitated, unable to even salute, and ran towards the front courtyard. Fortunately, when the servants from the main courtyard arrived, Su Shi was just able to endure 5 blows, but it also hurt. The servant's actions may not be of a certain severity. Li Shenjiao listened to Qiuzi's words and habitually blinked her eyes. Then she quickly waved and said, hurry up, hurry up. I'm going to hire another local doctor and they'll just say I'm feeling unwell." Qiu was puzzled and said, Gugu, Miss Su needs a local doctor." Li Shenjiao shook her head and said, "The ones who diagnose their pulse are all servants who only know some simple ailments. You go and invite the local doctor, show me, give him the silver, and ask him to go and see Su Shi." Autumn Porcelain understood and hurried away.